Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally a non-negotiable in today's global business world: cross-cultural communication. We don't just operate inside neat little borders anymore. Every single day, we're hiring globally, we're serving clients across continents, and managing these super complex international webs. Navigating all of this, well, it's not just some nice-to-have soft skill anymore. It is absolutely the core of effective leadership. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by defining cross-cultural communication, then look at why cultural awareness actually matters, break down some common communication barriers, look at strategies for effective managers, and finally, wrap up with navigating virtual communication. All right, Section 1. Defining cross-cultural communication. The what? I want to throw this fundamental question right out of the gate. What exactly is cross-cultural communication? Seriously, take a second and think about how the culture you grew up in impacts, well, everything. How you naturally speak, how you think, how you behave, and even how you negotiate. Culture literally dictates how you interpret a simple pause in a conversation or a super subtle shift in body language. At its core, cross-cultural communication is the process of exchanging information, ideas, and emotions between people who belong to different cultural backgrounds. But, and this is a big but, let's be crystal clear here. Effective communication is about way more than just sharing a vocabulary. It requires a deep, genuine understanding of the underlying values, the beliefs, and the implicit customs of the people sitting across the table from you. What's really fascinating is how this actually plays out in the real world. Let's say, imagine an Indian manager working with a Japanese team. In India, meeting discussions, they're often highly open, super interactive. But in Japan, employees might sit completely silent during that exact same meeting. To them, that silence is a profound sign of respect. They actually prefer discussing opinions privately later on. But think about it. An Indian manager who's totally expecting verbal feedback could so easily misinterpret that silence as apathy or even outright projection. It's an innocent disconnect, right? But man, it's the kind of thing that can stall a multi-million-dollar project in a heartbeat. Moving right along to Section 2, why cultural awareness matters. Because, look, understanding different customs yields some highly tangible business outcomes. First, it enhances your cultural awareness and sensitivity. And by doing that, you naturally improve teamwork because colleagues finally grasp the why behind each other's working styles. And that internal synergy, it directly translates outward. It builds way stronger relationships and deep trust with your international partners, suppliers, and clients. Okay, Section 3, common communication barriers, the why it's hard. So what are the invisible walls that cause major friction across borders? There are basically 3 major hurdles we hit all the time. First, language. And this is the obvious one, but even when we share a language, say English, local idioms and totally different vocabulary can cause massive confusion. Second, we have stereotypes and cultural bias, where assumptions can instantly erode trust. And third, differences in communication styles. When one culture values blunt, direct communication, while another relies on indirect phrasing just to preserve harmony, well, you've got a perfect recipe for conflict. And we can't forget about decoding nonverbal cues. Take eye contact. Maintaining unbroken eye contact might project ultimate confidence in a Western boardroom, right? But in many Asian cultures, that exact same behavior can be viewed as overly aggressive or highly disrespectful. A great manager has to interpret these nonverbal signals within the other person's cultural context to avoid stepping on toes accidentally. That brings us to Section 4, strategies for effective managers, the how. So how do we actually put this into practice? Building an actionable toolkit takes a multi-pronged approach. Step 1, managers must proactively develop cultural competence through continuous education. Step 2, practice active listening in the moment to catch those sneaky assumptions before they even form. And Step 3, ruthlessly adapt your own communication style to match your audience. Actually, let me give you a prime example of that active listening. It's asking this incredibly simple, clarifying question. Could you please explain what you mean? It sounds so basic, doesn't it? But hitting pause to ask this instead of just jumping to a conclusion, it is a literal superpower. It can prevent massive, ridiculously costly misunderstandings from ever taking root in your organization. When you are speaking, precision is absolutely your best friend. Keep it simple and precise. Speak at a measured pace, use concise sentences, and just totally strip away the slang, the technical jargon, or any local expressions that might confuse international participants. By intentionally simplifying your delivery, you aren't just being clear, you're actively designing a culturally sensitive environment where everyone feels genuinely valued. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Navigating Virtual Communication. Because let's face it, digital platforms have completely amplified these challenges. Today, we rely heavily on written messages, where tone is just invisible. Take this seemingly simple email request. Please revise this report. In one culture, that brevity is totally celebrated. It's just efficient. But in another, stripped of all tone and context, it comes across as a cold, demanding bark. When working virtually, managers really have to over-communicate politeness and context just to bridge that digital divide. And this digital and cultural friction is exactly why the giants, Google, Microsoft, Toyota, Unilever, IBM, are investing millions in cross-cultural training. They aren't doing it just to be nice guys. The business outcomes are crystal clear. Mastering this skill improves teamwork, sparks global innovation, boosts employee satisfaction, and ultimately drives superior business performance. It is literally one of the highest leverage investments a company can make. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. And I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are your personal communication habits building bridges, or are they unintentionally creating barriers? Really take a second to reflect on your own daily interactions in this incredibly diverse global economy. A little bit of cultural awareness, some active listening, and a slight shift in perspective might just be the absolute key to unlocking your team's greatest potential. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep listening, and I'll see you on the next explainer.